Guys, really great to see you guys. It's been a while. Really yeah, it's been a while. I haven't done a stream with you guys since probably like August or so, and so it's really great to see you guys. I feel a bit rusty. I feel a bit nervous and excited, but I'm really excited to get back into this. With this one, I think I wanted to give you guys a bit of an insight. I get a lot of frequently asked questions I get asked a lot, and questions that I think is worth me answering in terms of like, it is the best opportunity to throw out like my perspective on some of these answers, and they are a little bit different, slightly unorthodox. That's one of the main reasons why I think people do seem to like this. So, hold on, with that though, I think we may as well kind of just jump into this a little bit. As we begin, let me just get this slideshow up and running, and then bang. There we go, there's my face. My face is a little bit big, but it should be fine. But I wanted to talk to you guys, I wanted to meet you guys, and I think I wanted to give you guys sort of my philosophy and the creator playbook. Let's ignore that big weird square on the right. Let's not worry about that one for now. But yeah, oh wow, guys, I'm nervous. It's been a while, and so I think let's just kind of get into it. I think if you guys are familiar with me, yes, I think I've been with Logan for like the past like 7 or so years. Most recently have moved on from him in terms of literally just last week I was in Greenville editing a Mr. Beast video. It's probably going to come out in January. And then right now doing some content on my channel. But right now, if you guys aren't aware, I think one of the biggest things I'm doing right now is doing the editing podcast, where I'm finding the opportunities to talk with YouTube editors. And so like most recently we did have an interview with Michelle Carre, but not just Michelle Carre, her director and her editor. And I invited them in. We had conversations about their process and their creative philosophies. It was beautiful. But then with that, we then also are interviewing filmmakers from traditional media. A couple of weeks ago, we had the editor of Black Adam. Again, I think a pretty fun superhero movie, and then just seeing his philosophy. And one of the biggest insights I got from him was, we all kind of assumed, oh, it's a superhero movie. They're just doing it paint by numbers and whatnot. But this dude was so passionate about the movie that he made. And that was a really big eye opener. And then I think literally just yesterday, we released a podcast with the editor of Jordan Peele's Nope. And I really enjoyed that one because Logan didn't get that movie, but I got that movie. And so I got to talk about the editor and and how I liked that movie. And so that was a really interesting experience. But with that though, let's kind of jump into this. I think one of the things I really appreciate about where I am today is that I didn't expect to get here at this point. Like 10 years ago, I was not unlike some of you guys, just looking to start my channel for the first time. And so with this talk, I aim to give you guys some advice I wish I had when I was starting out 10 years ago. Or in this case, even if you guys were a couple of years in, advice that still applies to you today. With this, my creator journey began in London. And at the time, YouTube looked like this. Oh, wow. Okay, hold on. Let me just make my face a little bit smaller. Give me a second. Watch this. There's this magical thing when... Hold on. So it hits the screen. Get this, and I'm going to put my box right over there. It's great. Okay, it's in the box now. Brilliant. Okay, let's get back into this. Spoilers, by the way. There you go. All right, now we're back in. So YouTube looked like this. So things were really different then. Jump cuts had literally just been invented in the YouTube sense. The biggest creator was Charlie the Unicorn. If you guys know Charlie the Unicorn, you are like an OG YouTuber. And perhaps most crucially for me, I was a 14-year-old who didn't have any friends. I wasn't very good at things like football, soccer, you guys call it soccer, or music. But what I did have was a camera and a YouTube channel called Hillier-Smith Studios. I loved movies, and I wanted to do anything in my power to recreate my favorite movies. And somehow I convinced my neighbors to make movies with me. And here's a screenshot of what that looks like. It's literally me running around my local neighborhood in a Spider-Man costume. Don't try and find that video. I have buried it. As you can see, it's private. You will not be able to find it unless you hack into my channel. Please don't. I'm very fond of it. But things were really different in YouTube in 2009. But actually, some things have stayed the same. At its heart, YouTube is a website about connection. And because of YouTube, I became friends with my neighbors. And then something else happened. I started to become friends with other YouTubers. I went from maybe 2 friends to maybe 6 friends. And soon we all would be spending our weekends filming videos. We weren't famous or anything. We just genuinely loved making videos. Things then progressed from there. YouTube not only gave me friends, but it led to me going to uni for film. And it's literally the reason I have a degree. YouTube is why I have a degree. And that degree led me to my first job editing videos for a Facebook company, which led me editing for videos for a Viner turned YouTuber, which led to me working with some of the biggest creators of all time. But none of that would have happened if I wasn't just a shy boy in London with a camera looking for friends. I told you I met my first friends in London because of YouTube. One of those friends is now a director and writer in Los Angeles. You've probably already seen his movies, but you probably have already seen his movies as well. One of those friends also now works for YouTube corporate, and now I work for whatever it is I'm doing now. I'm trying to figure that out. But that's the fun part. That I am now in a position where I get to figure out what I am excited to do next. And the fact is this: major careers can start on YouTube. We know this. If you start a channel now, 10 years down the line, you could be directing a movie, working at Google, or editing for your favorite creator. Or if you're really thinking big, being a major creator yourself. You are at the start of your journey. And I had no idea. I was just messing around with my friends 10, 15 years ago, and now I'm led to this. I still don't know how this happened, but YouTube made it happen. So that's what I love about this website. I love about us creating content. And so for these next few minutes, I'm going to answer the top questions I get from YouTubers who come to me for advice. These are questions that are being asked by both new channels and established creators with billions of views. And those questions: what should my channel be about? How do I present to camera? How do I edit a YouTube video? And how do I get the algorithm to share my video? Now, here's the thing about those questions. They're actually the wrong questions. I'm going to tell you what questions you should actually be asking to get better results. And so let's start with the first question. What should my channel be about? It's a good question. But the question you should be asking is, what do I talk about when I get drunk? I call this the pub metric. That's right. You can tell I'm British because if you're a British, you can tell I'm British because I miss the pub. You guys call it the bar. I like to go down to the pub. But anyway, what is the pub metric exactly? Well, it's very simple. When you're at the pub, or as I said, you guys like to call it the bar, and you've had a few too many drinks, what do you talk about? The thing you talk about when you get drunk is actually what you're the most passionate about. It just took you a couple pints to get you there. Let me give you an example. When I get drunk, I like to talk about editing. I like to talk about Star Wars. I like to talk about Christopher Nolan. And I like to talk about the creator economy. So what videos do I have on my channel? I have editing, Star Wars, Christopher Nolan, and the creator economy. If you are not passionate about gaming, do not make a gaming channel. If you are not passionate about makeup, do not make a makeup channel. Why? Because eventually you will burn out and not want to make videos about that anymore. You need to use the pub metric and ask yourself, if I've had a few too many, would I actually monologue about this? Because that's the secret. Really successful YouTubers kind of act like a drunken fool. And that's how excited they are about their content. I'm not saying drink on the job, but think about creators like Logan Paul. They're so excited, it's almost like they are a drunken fool, even though they're sober. At least I hope he's sober. But how do I present to camera? For new creators, the camera can be terrifying. The lens almost looks like this big black pit that can suck you up. It makes you completely freeze. And so instead of asking, how do I present to camera? I want you to ask, who am I talking to? Because you're not just talking to a big shiny lens. You're talking to someone, a real person who you know in real life. If you imagine a real specific person in your life that you talk to the camera, that connection will come through. Let me give you a practical example. I start every video I film literally by saying, hey Mac, how's it going? Or hey Ali, how's it going? But you wouldn't know that because I actually cut out that line of the dialogue. So why do I do this? Well, Mac and Ali are actually two really good friends of mine. One of them is an editor for Airac, and Random is an editor for Airac, and the other one actually works for YouTube Corporate. Whenever I have a beer or drink with Mac and Ali, we talk about editing and YouTube the whole time, and I feel comfortable talking to them. I know how to make Mac and Ali laugh, and I know how to make them think, how to make them want to learn more as well. And so on camera, I talk to them. The simple addition of, hey Mac, how's it going, makes the next lines more naturalistic. Let me show you. What do Mr. Beast and Walt Disney have in common? Or, hey Mac, do you want to know what I've been thinking? What do Mr. Beast and Walt Disney have in common? For me, the performance is ridiculous. Like, I'm no longer reading a script. Instead, I'm actually chatting to one of my friends. Because that's how I want my audience to feel. Like we're two friends in the pub just chatting about YouTube. It all comes back to the pub. I haven't been to the pub in years. I haven't been home for years. I actually miss going to the pub. But there's also a really, really good example of this in the book, So You Want to Start a Podcast, by Kristen Meinzer. She wrote, when Andrea imagined a YOY listener, she thought of a person we both know in real life named Jenny. Jenny now has a boyfriend, but up until recently, she was unattached. Jenny loves her job, but doesn't feel married to it. Jenny is funny and self-effacing. Jenny lives in an urban area and is under 35. Andrea said that anytime she felt unsure about anything that she was doing with her show, or in this case, our content, she would imagine Jenny. How would Jenny feel about this? Would Jenny get the joke? Would Jenny feel affirmed by this? So if you want to make the person you are talking to specific, the lens will no longer be a lens. Instead, it will become a friend. One of the best examples is right now, even I'm talking to about 200 of you, I'm only really imagining that I'm talking to Zach right now. And all of you guys are just listening in on the conversation, but it's easier for me to just simply imagine one person. And the best part about talking to friends, they always listen. And so there's no reason to be scared if they're not gonna like you, because they already like you. In fact, some people like to say that the camera loves you. And that must be true because I love my friends. But how do I edit a YouTube video? That's the thing I'm most famous for. That's the thing I like to talk about the most. But that's also one of the things I like to talk about the most as well. But love it or hate it, editing is vital to the creator economy, which is great because there's always a job for me. But just like in the dot-com boom era, everyone needed a coder for their website. Now everyone needs a video editor for their channel. Some creators like to think of editing as the icing on the cake, but editing is not the icing in the cake. Editing is the oven. drink for dramatic pause. However, the way most people think about editing is it's reductive. For instance, go on any editing channel and they are basically click and copy tutorials for the latest editing effects. Effects are fun, sure, but editing is more than just transitions and meme inserts. Instead of asking yourself, how do I edit a YouTube video? I encourage you to ask yourself, how do I become a storyteller? Editing is the art of putting two or more images together and making a story out of them. And let me give you the most basic example, the Kuleshov effect. The Kuleshov effect is a classic editing technique. In fact, it's the most basic editing technique that freshers learn that the first day of... Wow, sorry, it's a gassy drink and I just got burped a little bit. The Kuleshov effect is a classic editing technique. It's the most basic editing technique that freshers learn on the first day of film school. And it's perhaps the most important part of the Kuleshov effect is that you do not have to have any fancy editing transitions to do this. You can do the Kuleshov effect in any software from iMovie to Premiere to the YouTube Shorts editor. This is a picture of the Kuleshov effect. And let's break down what's happening here. Lev Kuleshov was a Russian director in the 1910s and 20s, and he filmed a sequence as an experiment. He had an actor do a neutral facial expression, and if he showed soup, followed by the neutral facial expression, the audience said he looked hungry. If he showed a funeral, followed by the neutral facial expression, now the audience said he looked sad. If he showed a beautiful woman, followed by the neutral facial expression, now the audience said he looked like he was in love. But here's what's interesting. It was the same take, each sequence, the exact same shot. The actor didn't change his performance one bit, but the editor manipulated a feeling out of the audience. At the time, this was revolutionary. The audience is quoted to have raved about the acting. It wasn't the acting though, was it? It was the editing, or rather, the storytelling. By placing two simple shots together on a timeline, we are actually telling a story. I do the Kuleshov effect all the time. Here it is with Logan. By cutting to the Pokemon card here, now it looks like he's obsessed with Pokemon cards, and he is dreaming about them. You'll also notice the Kuleshov effect being used in movies and TV shows. Here it is in Romeo and Juliet. It's beautiful. There we go. They're in love. Fantastic. Here it is in Bridgerton. The exact same thing. Look at him. He's in love. Fantastic. But it's just literally the exact same shot. Now it looks like he wants Dominoes. Now it looks like he's in love with Danny DeVito. And now he's sad at Tony Stark's funeral. It's kind of simple. But the fact of the matter is, shot placement tells story. So don't stress about editing transitions and mastering the latest effect. Go back to the basics. The stuff that you can do in iMovie and make a story out of that. I guarantee you will be a better editor and storyteller because of that. And now for the final question that people ask me. How do I get the algorithm to share my videos? And bloody hell do I hate this question. If you've never met me before, hi, my name's Hayden, and I hate the algorithm games. It's kind of my thing. I don't think the algorithm is some kind of boss in a video game that you have to beat. I think the algorithm is actually neutral. It's neither good nor bad, but you can use it for good or bad. It's kind of like how I view money. So I'm going to show you how to use the algorithm for good and how to use it in a way so you don't have to rely on cheap trend jacking videos or clickbait or over editing. And in order to do that, instead of asking how do I get the algorithm to share my videos, I need you to ask how do I get the audience to share my videos? Because the audience is just data points about your audience. And so you need to ask yourself, who is my audience? And what is so irresistible to them that if they saw it, they would want to tell the world about it. I've said before that in 2009, YouTube was very different. But one thing is the same. YouTube is about community. And that has always been true. In 2009, me and my friends would literally have YouTube parties. We would go to each other's houses and sit down and take turns sharing the funniest videos that we saw throughout the week. I would like to argue that YouTube parties still exist. In 2022, I have a Discord group with my friends. And guess what we share to each other? This is some videos we like. This is something that YouTube has always known and websites like TikTok are just realizing. If we like a video enough, we will text it to our friends. No algorithm required. Now, I want everyone listening to this talk to ask yourself 2 questions. What was the last video I shared? And what made me want to share it? Go ahead. Think about it. I'm going to guess that you shared that video for at least one of these reasons. It was humorous, the video was good storytelling, or the video had good advice. There are usually the only 3 reasons someone shares a video. Humans are very simple. We either want to laugh, to be entertained, or to be creatively challenged. Fulfill one of those needs, and I guarantee you, someone will text it to their mum, or their friend, or their partner, or their coworker. And if your video compels your audience to share it, imagine what the algorithm will do. In conclusion, don't ask, what should my channel be about? Ask, what do I talk about down at the pub? Don't ask, how do I present a camera? Ask, who am I talking to? Don't ask, how do I edit a YouTube video? Ask, how do I become a better storyteller? Don't ask, how do I get the algorithm to share my videos? Ask, how do I get the audience to share my videos? These are not just 4 questions. These are 4 mindset shifts. YouTube is not a vending machine where you put videos in and fame comes out. In order to have a career on YouTube for the length that I've had a career on YouTube, you have to find a way to have a good mindset about it. The trap is to view YouTube like it's a fame machine. I want to encourage you to view YouTube like your favorite pub or bar. You should go there regularly, make lots of friends, and tell great stories while you're there. And the best part about this pub, everyone's welcome. You don't have to be a certain level of cool to fit in. It doesn't matter your race, your orientation, or your interests. There is a table at the YouTube pub with people who are dying to hear a story from you. And after all, if there is room for a friendless nerd who loved movies, there is room for you and your channel too. Thank you. And if he's on stage, I'd imagine like a big applause, but I'm just going to just sit here awkwardly. Yay! Woo! Okay, this is the awkward part. Okay, but then with that, then I think it's probably also got an opportunity for some questions. Yeah, we get lots of applause in the chat. That's probably we can work with that now. But with that though, I actually say we've probably got like another 10-15 minutes of Q&A as well if we're down. Zach, are we able to do that for a couple minutes of Q&A if there's any questions? I'm just gonna sit here awkwardly until he comes back, or did he? Did I bore Zach so much he left?
He's just on mute. Hayden, you could. There's a Q&A tab. You could pull through that Q&A tab there.
Oh, brilliant! Great. All right, cool. So I think we've got a couple in there that I've already answered. So, for example, how do you come up with good ideas? I think it's part of it as, again, coming back to the pub metric. If you have a couple drinks, or if there's any other ways that you like to get excited about what you want to talk about, find out what that is. And so find people who you like to talk about what you're passionate with. You're going to have a conversation that's going to make you come up with a good idea. How did you find the flow of your video? That's one of my favorite interesting questions, and ones that I've been trying to find the answer to, because how to find the flow of the idea, because a lot of that does come down to instinct. I would say here's one of the ways that I probably like to do this in terms of flow. Flow also basically means efficiency, story efficiency. I would probably like to describe it as where I how do I ensure that that I'm consistently delivering that makes me want to keep on watching. And sometimes it's really, really difficult to tell when something is working or not. And so one of the ways you do that is to be conscious of when your subconscious takes away your consciousness. Here's a simplified way of describing that. When I don't know what to cut, I put my phone in front of me, I put my iPad in front of me, I put a book in front of me that I've been trying to read for months and I've been avoiding reading. I put my cat in front of me and I start watching the video. And then the moment I feel a temptation to look at my phone or pick up my iPad or finally even pick up that book that I've been avoiding for months, something's wrong. And I then need to figure out, okay, what went wrong here? Because my subconscious has told me that it wants something new. And so that's one of the ways I like to work out what flows or at least what isn't working. Another thing that I've learned recently was from the Black Adam editor, and he's made me so aware of this feeling. When you show your video to someone, one of the biggest feelings you're going to get is shame. And that's actually amazing, because suddenly the problems that you couldn't see in the edit, you can now suddenly see. Because someone else is watching it and you now feel that didn't work, they didn't laugh, they didn't cry, they asked a question, they looked away. Suddenly you're getting that sense of shame. Take notes of when that shame is and then make changes to make your content better because of that. I think that probably, and then with that, you would then start to find out your flow. All it is comes with time, and everyone has a different definition, different idea of flow. Moving on to another question. Any reference to learn storytelling, like a book or video or anything? Yeah, there's a few books. I think I like to talk about the book Save the Cat a lot. I think that's a really, really good entry point in terms of understanding story. It's slightly outdated because it was written in the mid-90s, and so it's about a 25-year-old book now. But it's still really, really simple. It's a really, really great way to help you start priming you to think in story. I think another thing, yeah, yeah, Save the Cat is on my bingo cards in terms of like, yeah, we go, you get a point every time I mention Save the Cat. There's a few other books, but I can't read them at the top of my mind. But even for me, Start With Why is a really, really another good one in terms of figuring out the concept of why. And then it makes you very aware of the word why. Here's a question. Why? Oh, let me make a video on that why. And so that's probably another really good way to, it's a simple ways on teaching you how to think. What other ones? When I watched tutorials on color grading, I think the color looked better before my eye before. Yeah, that's a really, really, really common trope. I think what it is that I think some of these people, these color grading tutorials, they shoot these things flat. So it's kind of like black and white sort of style almost. And then they like bring it up and style it up and things like that. But sometimes that black and white style is really moody. And sometimes we kind of like that mood. And then once you've color graded it, it's now a completely different mood. But you're like, well, actually, no, I kind of liked it before. That's actually a really common thing. It's part of that, part of the process. With it being so cheap to outsource editing, can editors in the US be compensated fairly? Fuck, that's an interesting question. Something that I don't think I feel qualified to talk about just yet, because I think I need to think about that one. But my initial thoughts is I can't trust that editing is good. I think for basic editing, yes, that can be outsourced outside of the US. But in terms of cultures outside of Western culture, understanding Western culture may be slightly more difficult to translate. And so in terms of the quality that we would expect or the style that we expect in our culture. And so it'll be interesting. And so it's an interesting conundrum. And so something I'll have to look into a lot more for me to probably properly understand. But I would say it is acceptable, and I would like to assume for right now it's for relatively basic editing, such as like reformatting your widescreen video to a vertical format. I think how to be original when everything seems already done on YouTube. Well, nothing's been original for years. Originality no longer exists. But what you do is going to be different to the person that had made that video. And so you can look at an idea and go, how can I steal like an artist and find more interesting ways to make it in the viewpoint and perspective that I would like to do. So, for example, let's just say X creator has their own creative background, and they make that video, but then you have a completely different creative background, and then you now make the video with your creative background. It should be a different video, as long as you made the effort to remake it in the way that you would have preferred. And now it's an original video. It's the important part. That's why I say the phrase "still like an artist." But if you copy it frame by frame and don't add your own originality towards it, then you're stealing like a ripoff. And so you need to be careful that you need to ensure that you're still like an artist. And bottom line, the more that you can embrace the idea that nothing's original anymore, but you have the opportunity to do it yourself, it opens up the floodgates. How would you define good storytelling? I would say, was there an emotional change? And so I think a lot of people really overestimate the concept of storytelling. And I think it simply comes down to change. And the best way to explain it is this. Let's just say you had a really, really bad day. And like your boss shouted at you at work, or you're at school and you failed that test, and you come home and then you load up a Logan Paul video, and then suddenly 3-4 minutes later, you're laughing. That's a story. That's the change. You've had an emotional change. You started out in a bad mood, and 2 minutes later, you're laughing and everything's suddenly okay. That's your story. There's your change. And so storytelling has always been the wrong word. It's how do you find good change is simply that question. Now, I wish I had that in a presentation, actually. Yeah, it's story is the wrong word. It's change. Or I think what takes a good editor to an amazing editor? Storytelling, yes. I would say a good editor probably know how to do After Effects and maybe find some decent tracks and maybe can do some good color grading. But an amazing editor understands, let's say, the Kuleshov effect principle down to a T. He goes, if I put this shot here and then I cut to this shot, what does that mean? And then the editors who were able to see the cuts in between those shots, that's an amazing editor. Write that down. So how often should we post on YouTube to grow? That's an outdated concept. I think it's but so right now, if you're trying to grow, just post as many videos as you can, because no one's watching it anyway. And so the more, and so suddenly you get really, really good experience, and suddenly you're gonna start making really, really great videos, and then people are gonna start sharing those videos. The algorithm then goes, oh, wait a minute, something good's going on here, and then you start growing. The best way to grow is just to keep posting, but it's not about often. It is about the quantity of you improving. If you don't drink alcohol, what's a substitute that we could use for the pub metric? I think whatever it is that you use to wind down, in terms of, or it can be you just sitting with your friends with a packet of Doritos. I like to have a wine or a whiskey every now and again, and then sometimes when I'm with my girlfriend, we like to talk about passionate things. And then in that sense, it's alcohol is just quite a universal concept. But for those who don't drink alcohol, it is whatever it is that you like to do that makes you enjoy hanging out with your friends a bit more. And it can't just be anything. It can't just be the vibe that you get when hanging out with your best friends. Well, who is currently your favorite creator and why? Ryan Trahan. I think he's been refreshing. I think there has been instances where a lot of creators use some of the other massive creators as a source of inspiration, and then have missed the development in developing their own personalities. Ryan did follow what is the current meta, but but his personality and most importantly his perspective and the experiences is what makes it refreshing. Is what makes that refreshing. Now we're getting a bit of some Trahan copycats, which is great. But as long as we keep stealing like an artist and trying to find out what it is your perspective on these experiences. So it's not about copying his editing style. That won't do anything. But if you can come up with similar concepts, but then share your perspective in doing it, you're already making an original video. I think one more. Oh wow, there's so many questions now. Wow, so many now. How do you favor CTR or attention? What do you think is the best way to transition to a branded segment? What do you think is the best way to transition to a branded segment of a video when telling a story? This is one of my favorite ones. So there's two things that I like to do, two rules that I like to do. One is or it has to be organic, and two, and then two, I use the concept Pope in the pool, which I think I've talked about a lot here, and I'll break those two down. So organic means, I can't do this every time, but I try my best to make it happen. But it's very difficult to do so. One of my examples, and so organic means I like to provide the solution of the product and then sell the product. And most people don't do it in that way. People like to pitch the product, and then that's kind of it. Well, I'm not interested. The best example I would do is when I had to do a music licensing site, and I was doing roasts on ZHC and with Beam. And I said to them, hey, your music choices isn't that good. And so I showed them two examples of better music choices. And they went, wow, that's really great. Where'd you get that from? And I went, well, you can get it from this website. I provided the solution that gave me permission to then pitch the product. So that's how I like to transition into it. But then with that then is Jimmy does this really well. And I think other creators have also tried to adapt this, the Pope and the Pool method, which is I think my camera's about to die. There we go. My camera just died. Let me switch to the other thing. Hello. Where was I going? Let me just turn my camera off, let it cool down for a second. The Pope and the Pool method is, let's just say you're having to give exposition. People are plotting to kill the Pope. And people are plotting to kill the Pope, and then the spy agency has to inform the Pope, and so they go to the Vatican, and they start telling the Pope, "Hey, people are plotting to kill you." But the Pope in the Vatican is in a swimming pool, and he's in this skin suit that's like too small for him, and so all of his like flabby skin's coming out of it, and he's doing laps up and down the pool as these spies are telling him people are plotting to kill you. Suddenly, you are now thinking, wait, the Vatican has a swimming pool in it? Oh, God, he looks kind of disgusting with all of that flabby skin coming out of that swimsuit. Wow, it's like quite an old man trying to get fit. That's a bit odd. Suddenly, you've now been given the exposition, and you weren't bored doing it. Or would you? And what that's done is that's more interesting than just two people on either side of a table telling each other the problem. That's boring. And so, what I'm trying to say there is, like, if you're trying to do your branded segment, still keep something interesting happening. The best example would be, let's just say Jimmy goes, hey, if one of you guys can get a basketball in this hoop, you will win $1,000. Now let me tell you about this product. This product does X, Y, and Z, and that's why it's really, really special. You guys didn't get the basketball in, and that's why I think this product is really important for you guys to buy. Oh my God, you guys got it in? Here's $1,000. There's two things happening at the same time. Anyway, I spent 5 minutes answering that question, but it's one of my favorite ones to answer. But with that, though, guys, I really appreciate you guys coming in and listening to me. And I really enjoy doing these. It's really, really great to be back. Zach still has a couple of things to say as well. And so, Zach, I'm handing it back off to you. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you, Hayden. I appreciate you going through all of that. And I know that everybody in the Creator Now community misses you, so it's good to have you back, and hopefully we'll see a bunch of you more in 2023. I quickly will share my screen just so you guys know that we have tomorrow off on Creator Week because it's Thanksgiving here in the USA. And a lot of us will be stuffing our face with lots and lots of turkey and stuffing and other things. And then we're back Friday with John Ushei and Saturday with a panel with Zach Alsop from Zach and Jay and Trevor Wallace, the hilarious comedian. What we're offering right now is Creator Now is no longer doing cohorts, no longer doing seasons, but moving into an annual membership. So if you want to learn about how to become a creator and get access to workshops like these all year round, I will share some of the things that we do within Creator Now. So the main thing is every single week, we will have multiple workshops where we bring in top creators to teach various things from editing to storytelling to producing, the whole gamut. And we've also created a platform that allows you to connect with other creators in your niche, in your area, and overall just around the same passions and formats that you might have. It is like what most creators have on Discord, but on steroids. So if you're actually serious about becoming a full-time creator, it's far more effective than what some of you might be used to in the Facebook groups or other that you might have seen in the past. And we do IRL events all across the world. So that is the opportunity. And if you guys want an extra, because you guys have stayed till the end of the workshop, if you scan this QR code, you can get up to $100 off. I believe the smallest ones are $10 off. So it's also a great saving. This is 30% off until the end of the year. So instead of $350, you guys get it all for $265. So that is, are we using Circle SO for the community? No, everything is custom built. This is the only platform in the world that is custom built for creators. We're not using Discord. We're not using Circle. In 2023, we're not even going to be using Zoom. This is all going to be happening on our own live stream platform. And so there's going to be a phenomenal effort in actually building something for creators, not creators using things built for other people. It's about time we got our own things in the creator economy. So anyway, thank you, Hayden. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, sir. Thank you for coming out, and we'll be seeing a lot of you in 2023, I'm sure.
Really, really enjoyed this. Really great to be back. Thank you so much, guys. All right,
Peace out. See you, everyone.
Take care, guys. Peace.
Bye.